What's up, you guys? Friendly Neighborhood Geek here. Spooky Neighborhood Geek here, doing another um, movie game review, handheld movie game review. Yes, also, as of this recording, it is October 31st, so happy Halloween. Whatever you all decide to do, hope you have fun. If you don't celebrate Halloween, I hope you're still doing something fun for the end of the month. Like I said, this will probably be uploaded in November. It's probably be uploaded in November. I could upload it today, but I already had something, had another video planned for today to upload. So, yeah. Uh, but yes, we are looking at Van Helsing for the Game Boy Advance. Um, I think this was developed by Sierra. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't bother to really look who developed it, honestly. But I did talk about the console game. I did talk about the actual movie. The movie was directed by the same person who directed the early 2000 Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser. This had a lot of potential. This movie had a lot of potential to be. I think they intended for this to be a franchise, and it didn't do well, which is a huge shame. This is one of my childhood movies. I can watch this religiously. I could watch this, especially every October. Absolutely. For the most part, like I said, the action and CGI and stuff all still relatively holds up, and like it's a good movie. It's a guilty pleasure movie. So yes, we did get a video game, which some people may argue the video game story might be a little bit better, honestly. This is basically so if you've played the console version or go watch my review for the console version. I played the PlayStation 2 version. The Game Boy version is like a pocket size version of the console game. It does kind of have less content, which is understandable. It is a handheld movie based game, but it's fine for what it is. Like I said, because I'm a fan and I wanted to experience the game in a different format from the console version. That's why, I took the time to check it out. I do think, of course, the console version is the more superior version, has more content and, stronger gameplay and just all the good stuff. But this, like I said, if you're a fan like me, it's okay. If you want to experience a horror themed game on the handheld, it's an option. Um, like I said, graphics are fine. I do like the graphics. It plays decently. You only get three guns in this game compared to the console one. His two twin pistols, um, which were always fun to use in the console game. Um, his spear gun, I guess it's a spear. Yes, like a spear gun, crossbow spear gun. Uh, and you get an electric gun. Or in the console one, I apologize, I'm making a lot of comparisons, but the console one, like I said, had more weaponry and all that good stuff. Um, and he also has his two blades, two little saw blade weapons, which are melee attacks. Um, yeah, one boss from the console game isn't in this one, which isn't a super big deal, but it would have been cool if they were, if you could fight against that individual character. The bosses are fine for what they are. Just a lot of maneuvering, dodging, and attacking when there's an opening and stuff like that. He does have his grappling hook gun, which you can use against enemies to pull enemies towards you, or you can use it to reach high up places and get things like you can get items that will increase your health bar or give you extra life or some other things. Um, this game does have a password system, which I've never been really fond of the password system in games. So I play this on emulator, so you could just save wherever you left off and exit the app and come back, and it'll take you right where you left off. So if you were in the middle of a level, you wanted to come back to it, you just use the save function on the emulator and go right back to where you left, which I think is a lot more convenient than having to use a password system. So back in the day, you had to complete the level all the way through to progress, so you could get the password. Um, like I said, combat, it's okay. Like I said, gameplay, it's solid for what it is. I mean, the dialogue and stuff between the characters is good and entertaining. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's average, I guess. It's average. Like, for example, like when I talked about the Batman Begins Game Boy game, like which one am I more likely to replay, this or Batman? Probably Batman, because that Batman game has a lot going for it. And I've replayed it many times when I've been in the mood for a pocket-sized Batman adventure. Um, Now, one thing that this game has over the console game, which, oh goodness, this everyone who's a fan of of the Van Helsing game have all agreed the one on the game's one shortcoming, and kind of a spoiler for this 20-year-old movie slash 20-year-old game. Uh, at the end of the film, Dracula and Van Helsing fight each other. Van Helsing got turned to a werewolf, so he uses his werewolf form to defeat Dracula because Dracula is able to turn into some big demon bat looking creature, which is really cool. So at the end of the film, we get an epic fight between werewolf Van Helsing and demon Dracula. Um, the console game, that whole sequence takes place in a cutscene. Yeah, you don't get to play as the werewolf in the console game, which like I said, you do have a final boss fight with Dracula in his demon form, but only as regular Van Helsing. So after you beat him is when the sequence when he turns into a werewolf and kills Dracula. That's only through the cutscene at the end of the game, which was a huge missed opportunity, especially since in the console version you fight another Wolfman werewolf. That's how Van Helsing gets bitten, and like they literally could have just used the same like attack animations from that werewolf boss fight for the werewolf Van Helsing if he was, like I said, if that transformation was playable. I hope that made that make sense. Um, so that's a huge missed opportunity. And some people have said, well, the games used an earlier script than the movie, but even with that being said, like it was obviously in the script that he was supposed to turn to a werewolf. So why they didn't make him playable, like a playable transformation or like a new game plus, you have the ability to briefly turn into the werewolf and just, take enemies apart without any issue. Like that would have been such an awesome addition to the game. Um, well, sorta, kinda. The Game Boy version does that, surprisingly. Um, I think you only have access to it in the final level, which goes back to the story in the movie where the final battle between Dracula and Van Helsing. Um, but the way the werewolf looks in the Game Boy game, he looks kind of scrawny, honestly. Like he's not like big and imposing like he is in the console game or like how the werewolves look in the movie. Um, so that was kind of a bummer. He looked very undersized compared to Dracula. Um, but yeah, on the final level of the Game Boy game, you you have the ability to turn to the werewolf, and you'll briefly change back into Van Helsing, and you have to basically just have to maneuver and run away from Dracula because his attacks can do a lot of damage to you until you can reactivate your werewolf transformation and just kind of just go at him without having to worry about taking a lot of health. So again, that was really cool to experience, but like I said, I think it's only for the last level, and I don't know, it was just kind of like it just kind of felt copy and paste together, honestly. That's like the one up that this game has over the console version is that you can access the werewolf transformation. Um, but like I said, it's okay. It's fine for what it is. If you're a fan like me, it's worth checking out just to play the game in a different format. There was another Van Helsing game not attached to this film where you play as his son, so that's something to check out if you're interested. Peace. What's up, you guys? Friendly Neighborhood Geek here, or Holiday Neighborhood Geek, whichever you want to call me. Doing another Halloween horror movie review. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. People have just shows how creative artists can be, or filmmakers can be. You take something as innocent as Christmas and you find a way to make it into a horror movie. Crazy. Um, yeah, for those who don't know, holiday horror movies have existed like since the 80s, I want to say. So they've been around for a long time. This came out in 2015, which is insane. I was a freshman in high school in 2015, so I was like, damn, I didn't even know this movie existed for all these years. We had a good cast. This is a horror anthology, and I always say this: if you have been following me for a long time, I love horror anthologies. I have done close to over 10 horror anthologies on my page. I've watched so many, and I love them. I love anthologies. I love movies that tell multiple stories, and like I said, I love horror anthologies. So this was definitely up my alley. In total, I think we had like four stories, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we had three directors, which I think they all did a great job. A lot of names to remember, unfortunately, so I'm not going to bother naming the directors. But dope. Um, the cast was solid. Only face I really recognized was William Shatner, um, veteran actor. He was in Star Trek, a whole bunch of stuff. Very well known person. He kind of narrated the movie. He played a character in the movie, and he also kind of narrated the movie to an extent. This takes place in a small town. Also, this was shot in Canada. This was a Canadian production, so I think that's really cool. Um, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, so what is the synopsis of this film? Also, real quick, I did a video game review a couple days ago. I'm not sure if that uploaded properly. Um, so yeah, it hasn't got any viewership. So go check out that video game review I did if you're interested. Um, but yeah, but yeah. So what is the story for this movie? Um, So, like I said, it takes place in a small town on Christmas Eve. It has multiple stories. Oh, I forgot. There were a couple of faces I recognized. Like there were two black actors who I was like, oh, like they look familiar. I've seen them before. So we have Santa fighting zombie elves at the North Pole, and eventually, you see from the cover, eventually confronts Krampus, which is insane. We have a family who are all being hunted down by Krampus, um, while visiting an elderly relative for the holidays. We have three friends who go to their school to investigate a murder that took place like a recent murder, or took place like some years back or something. So basically, the basement, they were in the basement of the school, which doesn't sound safe. And that area was haunted, of course. So yeah, the three teenagers are dealing with a supernatural anomaly. Um, and I think the last story we have a couple who is our black couple and their son who went into the woods to cut down a tree, so they can have a Christmas tree. Which, yeah, it's like, why couldn't y'all just go to the store and buy a tree? That seemed like a lot safer than going out in the middle of nowhere, and cutting down a fresh tree. But anyway, and we're black on top of it. I'm not gonna get into all that. Um, I think that's all the stories. And throughout the movie, all the stories kind of intertwine. Like 1 minute we're focusing on Santa, the next minute we're focusing on the black family, and the next minute we're focusing on the teenagers, and the next minute we focus on the family being hunted by Krampus, and then it might at times we see William Shatner's character, who is a DJ radio host at the local radio station in the town. Um, and yeah, that's kind of the synopsis of the movie. There is a really crazy plot twist at the end, and I don't want to spoil it, because you're like, oh shit, like Santa is real. Like, okay, well, we know Santa and the elves and Krampus are all real. Well, yes, I'm not gonna spoil it. Yes and no, yes and no. But again, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil it. The I like the plot twist. I did and I didn't like it. I was like, oh, okay, that completely caught me off guard. But I would have liked, like, oh, I would have liked, like, I like it, but I would have liked if it was a certain way instead of what we got, basically. But the plot twist was good. Um, each story ends, yeah. Uh, I'm trying to think. I don't think any of the stories end well. At least a couple of people get K worded at some point in time. um, but it's fun. It's a fun watch, and like I said, it's 2015, so it's not that old. And even like I said, for 2015, I mean, I watched this on a smart TV, so the quality and stuff was really good. I was surprised. Like, yeah, this is a really well, visually the cinematography was good, and like I said, the Krampus costume and stuff was really looked really cool, and I like how Santa was portrayed in this. The actor who played Santa did really good. Um, it's fun, just a fun holiday horror movie. Like like this easily could have been like a Halloween horror movie, Like if you made this Halloween instead of centered around Christmas, I think it could have worked the same way. Um, but like I said, this was good. It's on streaming. It's on Amazon and it's on some free streaming service. That's how I watched it. I might do another Christmas. There was another one I saw. I think it was a horror anthology, a holiday horror anthology. I might talk about that one too. Like I said, there's so many horror movies to choose from. I mean, some of the older ones like Christmas Evil, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Black Christmas, the original. Um, those are all really well made horror films. Um, we have some newer ones. Like I know they did a Grinch horror movie slasher. I didn't watch that. I may watch it one day out of curiosity. Um, but yeah, but yeah, yeah. Um, like I said, I have another movie I saw, which didn't wasn't it was a horror movie. It wasn't I don't think it's centered around Christmas, but it took place in like a Christmas themed environment, like a snowy forest and a cabin type of environment. So that might get a video, get a review. And then I have another review, another movie I'm thinking of talking about, kind of similar to Last Holiday with Queen Latifah. A movie kind of similar to that. It takes place around Christmas time. I might talk about that. Um, yeah, yeah. As always, like, comment, share, follow. Stay tuned for more. Like I said, at the end of the month, I'll probably do a update video. I talked about I'm going through some life changes, some good life changes, and my page will probably have to go on a hiatus for a while. And I'd rather give an explanation for why that is instead of just leave people wondering like, hey, where'd he go? He hasn't uploaded in a while. Um, so stay tuned for that. I'll probably do an update video. Yeah, I have my holiday notification. I put my phone on vibrate. I'll probably do a um yeah, I'll probably do an update video. And like I said, I have a couple other videos already scheduled to upload, like for Friday. As of this recording, it's Thursday. Oh, I swear. Oh goodness. I apologize about that. Um, so yeah, like I said, like, comment, share, and follow, and stay tuned for more. Peace, you guys.